Welcome everyone. Now that the DAX measures are completed, we can now create our complete dashboard. So first of all, let's just look at what the visualizations are. So here we have every type of visualization that we are going to be using. So we have our stack bar chart, column chart, clustered bar chart, clustered column chart, and so forth and so on. We have scatter chart, we have pie charts, and we have a card that we used in the previous class. Here's a card. We have gauge, we have a zero map, we have tree maps also. So, and we have location based maps too. So all of these are the things we are going to be using in our model. Now there is one thing we can use, that is a text box. If we create a text box, we can put it right here. Just point it down, and then I'll just write Zomato restaurant dashboard. So I'll just enlarge this to for I'll just do it for 40. And you can also change the font to whatever you like. Let's just use Comic Sans. It's not professional, so let's just use Arial. I think that's enough for now. We can change the color of it, we can change the color of the font, and we can do all of those later on. So this is our text box. We can put it on here, or we could just slide it down vertically. Now that we're done, let's just see our data. So here are all the data that we have. For example, let's first use a card. Let me just put it down like here. So let's start with the KPI cards. So let's just see how many restaurants we have, the total restaurants. So for example, the total restaurants we have are 10K. Let's just do total votes. We have a million total votes. Let's just take the total cuisines. We have total 2000 cuisines. So this measures everything. This just shows us the exact value of it, and here you can see that the uh, values are also given. So this is 2K, and if we go to, for example, if I press on this, and this shows us the values here, and it's a category, you do not need anything else. If we go to the format your visuals, here you can change the layout, you can change the style. For example, if you want, you can add images. If I put in a title, for example, if I put a title, let's just say cuisines. So you see there's a title up here, but we do not need that for now. It's the same way you can use FX and everything else. So that's all, that's the part of format your visuals, and that's what we mostly need. Let's just create another card for our total restaurants. So total, okay, so this is the total one. If I can like bold the values or anything I want, we'll change that later on. Okay, so now we have two of our um, card systems. We can also do that for any other measure or any other value that we have. Now let's move on to our pie charts. So let's just use our pie chart to see the total restaurants which have online delivery. So for here, the legend will be online delivery, um, as online delivery, and we will use the value for total restaurants. So here you can see the total value up here. You can see that 2025.67 have no have delivery, while 7,000 do not. So it shows us both the percentage and the value. So if I click on just one of them, it will just entirely change all of the values here. So for example, I clicked on restaurants which have online delivery. So it shows us total 2000 restaurants, and the cuisine, there are 603 cuisines. If I click on this one, it shows us the other values. I'll just click it again, and this will change. I can also change the visuals here. For example, if I want, I can take the legends off. Here it's off. If I want, I can this is center right, I can put it on the top, I can put it in top center. I can do whatever I want with it, like just do bottom center as on delivery. I can also change, for example, here the title is too big. So if I want, I can just total restaurants I'll just do has online delivery or just online delivery, and then it will change it. So I can again go title, and then I can put it in any place. For example, I can put it in the middle or anything else. I can also bold the numbers. I'll just go here for the legend. Let's just see the text. The text is fine here, and let's just go to the slices. There's a different color for the slices, and if I go to the general, I can change the effects and everything. So that's about it, and let's just move on to the next one. For example, we have a table book. We did not create a table booking, so let's just create one. So that's all about pie charts. Now let's move on to our bar charts. So there are two different types of bar chart or column chart, that's clustered and stacked. So for example, we want to see which cities dominate the restaurant market. So for first of all, let's just take a stacked column chart. Then we will take cities. Here's the city, and then we have to use total restaurants. So here's the total restaurants. So here you can see that there are a lot of them. So this is the total restaurant, and for example, if I just click on this just shows New Delhi, and then we have Gurgaon. So this is how the entirety of it works. And now in the similar way, we can just change the x-axis and the y-axis. We can, like for example, there are grid lines here, we can just turn it off. So however you want to change it. So there are different things we can work on. So let's just put it down here. So we can also check, for example, let's just give this one, and let's just check the total votes according to cities. So let's just use total votes and then the city. So this just shows us how much each city has voted. So these are the four top ones. We can do the similar one with cuisines, which shows us the most popular cuisine type, and the same with average rating. So these are the basic ones. For example, now if you look at tree map, for example, this is a tree map, it will have a stack of options. So for example, when we have way too many segments, we can use a tree map to show the popularity of things. For example, let's look at the cuisines and total restaurants. So cuisines, and total restaurant. Sorry, that's not this one. So cuisines and restaurants. So you can see that it's way too big because of the amount of data we have here, but this shows us every little value for the entirety of it. Similarly, we can do this with cities. For example, if I Treemap, and I'll just put in city and total restaurant, so this shows us the total restaurants we have here. Then we have our map visuals. We can create our map visuals accordingly. So let's move on to line charts. So line charts basically is good for comparisons between trends. So for example, on the axis, let's just put the restaurant name. So is the restaurant name on the axis, and average rating. Let's just get the way. So we don't need the average rating, we need the aggregate one. So because we have, for example, this shows us the total summation of it, but we do not need the summation. We need to see the trend. Um, So if we just put on the aggregate rating, you can see that this shows us the trend. For example, this restaurant has the most, and then it shows us how it's decreasing every time. So that's about the line chart. Let's just make it smaller. We have various, we have more of these. We have the composition trees, we have waterfall chart, we have ribbon chart, and many more. But these are all of the basic functionalities for the visualizations. Here you can see that this is the total one. Sorry, I'll just, here you can see that there is the total one. Now if I go to, for example, view, so this shows us the all of the themes that we can use. For example, I can use this, it will change accordingly. Don't need that. I can change the entire custom of it. So here's, again, if you want, you can create your own theme. For example, mainly we need JSON themes, so you can just download any of it and use it here. So this is the basic one for the PC desktop. If you want for the mobile layout, you have to go there and then you have to just insert them one by one. For example, I can just put it here. Because it's the restaurant name, I will have to make it shorter. Similarly, I can keep the total restaurant number here. So we have to resize everything. So we have to resize everything according to the mobile layout, but for the PC version of it, we have everything we need here. So let's just create different color patterns for it because all of them is too blue. Um, so we can create this one, or we can just like, use this theme. It changes the entirety of it. If you want, you can change the background of this. From here you can change all of the background. We have various tooltips, we have header icons, we have various effects. For example, if I click here, this will just change it. For example, if I make it ash, this is what happens. For now, let's just keep it white, and I'll just keep it to something simple. So you have to create one according to what you need, and that will be all. So you can individually change all of these colors however you like it, and this just shows us how diverse the tool is. So you can also create grid lines for to make it easier to know where you're placing everything. uh, you can lock objects, you can create various filters for it. So a lot of things, you can create new measures. Again, you can change the data anytime you want, and the data that is stored needs to, the source data needs to be in the same place that you kept it. If you remove the data, the Power BI file that you have will not be available. So finally, you just save it here, and then you can just save as or save it in any place you want. So that's about it.